The Mitten. Once there was a boy named Nicky who wanted his new mittens to be made of wool as white as snow. At first his grandma, his Baba, did not want to knit him white mittens. "If you drop one in the snow," she warned, "you'll never find it." But Nicky wanted snow white mittens, and finally Baba made them. After she finished, she said, "When you come home, first I will look to see if you are safe and sound. But then I will look to see if you have both of your snow white mittens." So off Nicky went. It wasn't long before one of his mittens dropped in the snow, and it was left behind. A mole, tired from all the tunneling around, discovered the mitten and burrowed inside. It was cozy and warm and just the right size, so he decided to stay. A snowshoe rabbit hopped by. He stopped for a moment to admire his winter coat. It was then that he saw the mitten, and he wiggled inside, feet first. The mole didn't think there was room for both of them, but when he saw the rabbit's big kickers, he moved over. Next, a hedgehog came snuffling along. Having spent the whole day looking under wet leaves for things to eat, he decided to move into the mitten and warm himself. The mole and the rabbit were bumped and jostled, but not being one to argue with someone covered in prickles, they made room. As soon as Hedgehog disappeared into the mitten, a big owl, attracted by the commotion, swooped down. When he decided to move in, the mole, the rabbit, and the hedgehog grumbled. But then they saw the owl's glinting talons, and they quickly let him in. Up through the snow appeared a badger. He eyed the mitten and began to climb in. The mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, and the owl were not pleased. There was no room left, but when they saw his diggers, they gave him the thumb. It started to snow, but the animals were snug in the mittens. A warm waft of steam rose in the air, and Fox was trotting by and stopped to investigate. Just the sight of the cozy mitten made him drowsy. The fox poked his muzzle in. When the mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, the owl, and the badger saw his shiny teeth, they gave the fox lots of room. A great bear lumbered by. He spied the mitten all plumped up. Not being one to be left out in the cold, he began to nose his way in. The animals were packed tightly as they could be, but what animal could argue with a bear? The mitten swelled and stretched. It was pulled and budged to many times its size, but Baba's good knitting held fast. Along came a meadow mouse, no bigger than an acorn. She wiggled into the last space left and made herself comfortable on the top of the giant bear's nose. The bear, tickled by the mouse's whiskers, gave an enormous sneeze. Achoo! The force of the sneeze shot the mitten into the air and scattered the animals in all directions. On his way home, Nicky saw a white shape in the distance. It was his lost mitten silhouetted against the blue sky. As he ran to catch his snow-white mitten, he saw his Baba's face in the window. First she looked that he was safe and sound, and then she saw that he still had his new mittens. The end.